Hello everyone. For this video we will be expanding upon some mechanics regarding the fusion techniques, such as why the time limit of a fusion decreases so much when using a powerful transformation, or how important is the compatibility between users when they are fusing together. This is all with the purpose to not nerf the fusion characters necessarily, but to balance them out. Because the sheer power of a fusion usually can be very problematic for power scaling and even plot sometimes. I will also be establishing all the fusion characters from the upcoming video I'm making regarding the revision of the Tournament of Power arc. So let's begin. Before even starting with the characters, I want to establish something very important regarding the fusion techniques. One problem with the fusion is that it is so overpowered that it breaks completely the power scaling. So with that in mind, we need to establish some ground rules. First, for the fusion to actually give a large power up, it requires for the users to be compatible. And with that, I mean that they need to be somewhat comparable to each other in terms of power level. But in addition to that, there are other requirements, such as both users being part of the same species. For example, if a Super Saiyan uses the fusion with an Namekian, then the product of the fusion will still be able to transform into Super Saiyan, but the power-up is reduced as a result, since obviously the body of the fusion is no longer pure Saiyan. There can be other even more specific conditions that can make a fusion power weaker than usual, as we will be seeing later with KEFLA. With that being said, let's start right away with our first fusion character, or characters in this case, who won't be appearing in the Tournament of Power, but it is still important to mention them since it is necessary to explain why they won't show up, considering how powerful they are. Obviously, I'm talking about Gogeta and VEGITO. Now, I will be probably making a controversial take, but even though I find Gogeta and VEGITO very cool of course, I really dislike their portrayal in the story, specifically their power levels portrayal, to the point that I kinda dislike both of them to some extent at least, because they really are a huge problem when it comes to power creeping. Let me give you a clear example of what I'm talking about. In the Dragon Ball Super movie, Gogeta was able to hold his own against a Super Saiyan Broly, while both Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta together could barely fight against the same Broly. To put that into perspective, the difference in power between the base form and the Super Saiyan Blue form is huge, astronomical. There is Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, and then there is Super Saiyan Gold and Blue. You could even add the perfected Super Saiyan Blue from the manga. So there is already several transformations of difference, and the power disparity between Super Saiyan 3 and Super Saiyan Gold is already insane. Which, by the way, is one of the reasons I used the Saiyan Beyond God form as the demigod key forms for our revision, since with that, we were able to alleviate a lot of the problems of power scaling in Dragon Ball Super. And also, we decreased the power difference between the Super Saiyan God and the supposed base forms of the Saiyan, in a way that makes some sense. But regardless, just imagine how much stronger is Blue form than the previous forms in canon. But then, Gogeta comes in his base form, by the way, who based in his portrayal is already stronger than both Goku and Vegeta in their blue forms together. And that is just honestly insane. And this is just one example of Gogeta and Vegito creating a huge power creeping in the story. Fortunately, establishing the demigod forms will really help us out regarding the power of Gogeta and Vegito in this occasion, since they will be nerfed to a lesser extent than if we didn't have the demigod key concept. Now, let's quickly go through the power level of Gogeta and VEGITO.
In their demigod base form, they have a power level of 77, equal to a perfected Super Saiyan Blue Goku. And by using the demigod perfected Super Saiyan form, Vegito and Gogeta have a power level of 84, equal to a maximum Kaioken Goku. The perfected Super Saiyan form is a made-up transformation that essentially is just the Super Saiyan form powered up to the maximum, being stronger than Super Saiyan 3 without any of its drawbacks. This transformation is not completely out of nowhere, since I read that Toriyama once said that the Super Saiyan form can be powered up more than normal without the need of using the Super Saiyan 2 or 3 forms. Now the question is, why Gogeta and Vegito are able to use this transformation while Goku and Vegeta are still using the regular Super Saiyan forms? Well, I explained this the same way I did a while ago during the Buark video, specifically when I established that the fusion is capable of unlocking the potential of the users, explaining why Gotenks was able to use Super Saiyan 2 and 3 while obviously Goten and Trunks couldn't. So in this case, it's basically the same explanation. Super Saiyan God Gogeta and Vegito have a power level of 88, equal to Ultra Instinct Saiyan Goku, and fully powered Super Saiyan God, they have a power of 90. Their perfected Super Saiyan Blue forms have a power level of 92, equal to a perfected Ultra Instinct Goku. By using the Super Saiyan Blue evolved form, or the limited Kaioken with blue form, Gogeta and Vegito have a power level of 93, and with a fully powered blue evolved form, or maximum Kaioken with blue form, they have a power level of 94. Gogeta and Vegito can also potentially use both maximum Kaioken and fully powered Super Saiyan Blue evolved at the same time, having a power level of 95, which is equal to an Ultra Instinct Saiyan or Ultra Ego Power Gogeta and Vegito. Finally, perfected Ultra Instinct Gogeta and Vegito have a power level of 98, which is around the power of an angel. Two things before we move on to other fusions. One, is it possible for Gogeta and Vegito to use both Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego at the same time? And honestly, I have no idea. To some level, I think both techniques contradict each other, so it doesn't feel like it's possible, but at the same time, it is just a cool concept that I'm sure in the future we will see it happen. I just hope when it does, they give some explanation to it. Which remind me, in the manga, we actually see Virus using Ultra Instinct against the other gods of destruction, and we can only assume he was also using Ultra Ego to power up, so I think that will be an instance of using both techniques at the same time? Let me know what you think. And another thing is why in the hell Goku and Vegeta won't be using the fusion in the Tournament of Power, in our revision at least. And the short answer is because it wouldn't last long enough to make a difference. Mind you, I'm talking specifically about the revision. Because yes, in the actual canon, Goku and Vegeta using the fusion would allow them to easily defeat Jiren, because Gogeta and Vegito are just stupidly broken. But for our revision, that wouldn't be the case necessarily. Now, even if Gogeta or Vegito is capable of transforming into a fully powered Super Saiyan Blue evolved without ending the fusion in a few seconds because of the sheer power, then Jiren is still capable of powering up even more. So in our revision, using the fusion would only be detrimental for the team, since it could potentially lead to the elimination of both Goku and Vegeta at the same time, the two strongest fighters of Team 7. Also, that's just taking in consideration Jiren, because for our revision, There are plenty of other powerful fighters in the Tournament of Power, making the fusion much more dangerous to use. Now, there is another thing I wanna expand upon about the fusion techniques, specifically the time limit it have. As we know, there is a direct correlation between the transformation of the fused fighter with the fusion time limit. The stronger is the form they are using, the shorter is the time of use. So let's use this as a way to nerf the power of the fusion techniques and also explain the time limit mechanic. The closer the two fusing parts are to their max potential, the less affected is the time limit of the resulting fusion. So, to give a clear example, during the Blue arc, Gotenks Super Saiyan 3 had a much shorter fusion time. Why? Because Goten and Trunks haven't reached this power on their own, so naturally, the fusion can only handle this level of power for a very short amount of time. Now, in the case that both Goten and Trunks have reached the Super Saiyan 3 transformation themselves, then as a result, Gotenks in Super Saiyan 3 form would last the corresponding 30 minutes of fusion, and it wouldn't be shortened. The same happens with Gogeta and VEGITO. For the Tournament of Power, Goku uses the perfected Ultra Instinct for the first time, and it's incredibly hard for him to use. So in theory, an hypothetical Gogeta will be able to use perfected Ultra Instinct, but it most likely will result in the fusion almost instantly ending. The same happens to a lesser extent with the maximum Kaioken or fully powered Super Saiyan Blue Evolver. These forms cause a lot of strain to Goku and Vegeta respectively, and it is still hard for them to use for long periods of time, so as a result, a fusion between the two of them using this form will last very short as well. Next, we have the Saiyan fusion of Universe 6, KEFLA, and she's the perfect candidate to explain upon the concept of fusion compatibility. As I mentioned before, the fusion power is much more effective when both users are compatible, for instance if they are the same species, and in the case of Caulifla and Kale, they both are Saiyans, but there is something different with Kale. She is capable of using the Osaru Wrathful state and can transform into the legendary Super Saiyan, which implies that at the very least, Kale is a mutant Super Saiyan, and by extension, Caulifla doesn't have access to the legendary transformation, meaning that KEFLA Wrathful state and legendary Super Saiyan forms are weaker than it could have. If both Kale and Caulifla had the same transformation, then the fusion will be more compatible and as a result, more powerful overall. Still, both Saiyans are compatible enough. By the way, in the Universe 16 video, I stated that Caulifla uses the divine transformation of Super Saiyan Rage, which is the primal divine form of a Saiyan, contrasting the god forms of Goku and Vegeta. When it comes to KEFLA, she doesn't really use the Super Saiyan Rage form, since it is very similar to the legendary Super Saiyan but weaker. Even though KEFLA Wrathful state and legendary form is not as powerful as it could be, she does inherit a pretty useful trait from Caulifla, which is that KEFLA has total control over the Wrathful form, meaning that she doesn't go completely berserk by using this state. The base power level of KEFLA is 66, equal to a Super Saiyan God Goku, and with Demigod Wrathful state, she have a power level of 68 up to 70, equal to a fully powered Super Saiyan God Goku. With Godly Osaru Wrathful state, KEFLA have a power level of 72 up to 76, slightly weaker than a perfected Super Saiyan Blue Goku. By transforming into the Super Saiyan while using the Godly Wrathful state, she have a power level of 80, equal to a limited Kaioken Blue Goku. By using the legendary Super Saiyan form, KEFLA have a power level of 84, equal to maximum Kaioken Goku. And by transforming even further to legendary Super Saiyan 2, KEFLA have a level of 88, equal to Ultra Instinct Saiyan Goku. The next fusion is a made-up one for our revision. The fusion is between the elemental Pride Troopers Kunshi, Tupper, Soire, and Ketal. These Pride Troopers don't use the Potara or the Dance technique to fuse. Instead, they have their own special method of merging together, which is related to their particular story as elemental warriors. Their fusion compatibility doesn't come from being the same species, which they aren't, but from their elemental powers. The elemental fusion also have a time limit, and the maximum amount of time depends on how many of the 4 elemental troopers are merged together. For instance, 2 elemental Pride troopers merged together have a longer fusion time than having all of 4 of them together. I haven't thought of any particular name for this fusion, so let's just call it the elemental fusion. The current base power level of a complete elemental fusion with the 4 members is 61, equal to a Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and at full power a level of 64. With Godly Ki, the elemental fusion have a power level of 71, slightly stronger than a fully powered Super Saiyan God Goku, and at full power a level of 77, equal to a perfected Super Saiyan Blue Goku. In his godly elemental form, the elemental fusion have a power level of 81, stronger than a limited Kaioken Blue Goku. Although this particular form is very hard to maintain, especially if 4 members are merged. The elemental fusion have all the abilities of the merged members, including of course their elemental techniques. Another made-up fusion for the Tournament of Power will be from Universe 2, specifically a fusion between the Beast Girl Kakuza and the Magical Girl Rosie. This fusion is also different from the dance and the Potara, and it is performed by Rosie using a magical spell to merge together. This spell also has similar limitations to the usual fusion. In case of KAKUNZIE and Rosie, they both are part of the Magical Girl team, possessing a similar source of power, meaning they are very compatible. This fusion, called KAKUNZIE, have a power level of 61, equal to Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and with Godly Ki, she have a power of 71, equal to an unmastered Super Saiyan Blue Goku. By using the temporal buff spell of Magical Beast State, KAKUNZIE power increases up to 76, slightly weaker than a perfected Super Saiyan Blue Goku. And by being buffed with the Love of Power from Ribrianne, KAKUNZIE can reach a power level up to 79. Next, we move on to the Trio Robot fusion from Universe 3, Koisiareta. In contrast of previous mentioned fusion methods, Koisiareta doesn't have a time limit. The base power level of Koisiareta is 62, stronger than Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and at full power, a level of 66, equal to Super Saiyan God Goku. With Godly Ki, Koisiareta have a power level of 74, and at full power, a level of 80, equal to a limited Kaioken Goku. When Paparoni merged together with Koisiareta, another fusion comes to fruition, the biomechanical fighter ANIRAZA. Although very powerful, this fusion still hasn't been perfected by Paparoni. It does have a time limit and also possesses a glaring weakness in his forehead, which is ANIRAZA's source of unlimited energy. If an enemy discovers this weakness and destroys it, then ANIRAZA won't have unlimited energy and stamina anymore, and also causes ANIRAZA body to stop moving for a few seconds, which can be fatal. The abilities of ANIRAZA won't be too different from what it was shown in the anime, having the ability to teleport his body or partial parts of it, which makes up for his lack of agility due to being so big. He also has a very advanced sonar system, allowing him to be aware of his surroundings at all times, making it very useful to find smaller targets. He also possesses powerful energy attacks such as death balls, and can also use the anti-gravity beam to paralyze a target. ANIRAZA can change the shape and form of his body, which allows him to create wings, and can even create smaller versions of himself to fight or to scout. ANIRAZA can also regenerate. Of course, this fusion also possesses the intellect of Pepperoni and his AI device. The base power level of ANIRAZA is 72, stronger than fully powered Super Saiyan God, and at fully demigod power, a level of 76, slightly weaker than perfected Super Saiyan Blue Goku. By using Godly Ki, ANIRAZA have a power level of 85, stronger than Max Kaioken Blue Goku, and at full power, a level of 89, stronger than Ultra Instinct Saiyan Goku. It is worth mentioning that ANIRAZA's full potential is much higher, since it is still a work in progress for Pepperoni.